Hello again, guys. It is iFreeze700. We are back with some Warhammer fantasy lore. This time, what the fuck is Oxyotl, the Unseen? Oh boy. I actually like this skink a lot. I think he's actually really interesting because of just how peculiar he is. He's a very odd addition to the Lizardmen roster. And, well, I hope you guys are as pumped as I am to talk about him. Here we go. So, as with any good Lizardman character and good Lizardman story, it starts way long ago, before the elves were split into 3 different factions, before the dwarves colonized all the mountains, before humanity even existed. There was nothing really but the Lizardmen. And during this time, a great chaos invasion occurred, and this drove all the elves in Ultuan into near extinction. This drove the dwarves into their little hidey holes, too damn fucking nervous to get out, because, chaos demons are very fucking deadly. And this drove the Lizardmen to the brink of collapse. This is, of course, where Oxyotl really made his appearance. Now, he popped up in 5th edition, and he was actually a really interesting hero that you could add into your army. You see, he is a chameleon skink, and during this time, there actually were chameleon skinks, but they only came from one spawn pool in all of Lustria. In every spawning pool all across the Lizardmen Empire. We're talking the Lizardmen all the way over near where Araby used to be. Even there was no fucking chameleon skinks. So our story begins in the city of Pahox, the city of Ash. During this time when the Chaos Invasion occurred, it was not known as the city of Ash, it was just known as Pahox. And Pahox is the only city in the entire world that can spawn chameleon skinks. So, hey, that's actually pretty valuable. There is some cities that only spawn the only breed of certain lizards. So, hey, this is a very valuable spawning pool. Well, the demons were invading and they were attacking the city. Oxyotl and his chameleon skinks did what they were good at. They were setting up ambushes. They were setting up traps in the jungles. So the demon host that was coming over to the city was actually very slowed down. They were getting hit by all these poison darts, which, yes, poison darts still do affect demons. And they were getting hit with all these nasty traps and all sorts of doodads and all sorts of ways of just being a real annoyance and guiding the enemy's war host into different paths that are slower for them to get to the ultimate goal of Pahox. Well, despite all these traps that Oxyotl and his friends have done, it wasn't enough. The demon horde is just too damn strong for these traps to efficiently stop the invasion. So, Oxyotl and his brood retreated into the city and defended the walls. They defended from the magical barrier that the Slann mage priest had set up, and even this was not enough. As the walls were breaking, as the magical barriers were broken down, the mage priest of the time only found one alternative. It's time to go with option N, boys. Option nuke. So his plan was to just conjure up this magical ritual that would summon enough magical eldritch energies that he just summon a huge nova, a huge blast that would just wipe out the demons in the area. Problem is that he's running out of time. He's running out of troops. Only the Saurus and Oxyotl are pretty much left. That is it. There are no more skinks by this point, except for Oxyotl. There is no more city plazas. It is now the final temple, and that is it. So the mage priest is running out of fucking time. Time is ticking. And right now, brother, you got no fucking time. So, he draws upon the most deepest of arcane energies. And it turns out this is actually what the demons wanted. They wanted the Slann mage priest to be desperate. They wanted him to pull in all these crazy energies. And in doing so, he actually fucked up real badly. He instead enhanced himself too much with these energies, drawing upon the very taint of chaos into his spell. And what he had done was he had opened up a massive portal that sucked him, all the demons, everything, even the very stone of the city, into this portal. And from there on out, the city became known as the City of Ashes, as the portal aged the very stonework by a millennia. So everything just faded away into dust like a Thanos snap. Just boom, everything's in dust and ash. The spawning pool was no longer able to make skinks that were chameleons at least. And it was forever lost. But what about Oxyotl, you may assume? Where does his story begin? Well, it begins when he wakes up in this terrible, terrible nightmare known as Hell, the Warp. He wakes up to find himself surrounded by demons that are just gorging themselves upon the Slan's intestines and killing, well, more or less butchering, massacring the remaining Saurus who are too weak to fight off what it is that they're dealing with. And some of the Saurus are going feral from just the insanity of what they are seeing as the laws of reality no longer work. Now, while the demons feasted, something peculiar happened. They didn't realize Oxyotl was in the group. They didn't see him. They didn't even know he was there. This, of course, made Oxyotl plan. He did what he did back in the jungles. He started to blend in with the environment, changing his skin color to match it, whatever the environment may be. Because after all, in the warp, colors change, time changes, everything changes. The rules of reality are not steady. So Oxyotl had to be constantly on his feet, constantly changing his skin color, constantly changing his tactics, constantly changing his location. Just got to be on the move, always on the hunt. And for a while, the demons didn't even know he was there. Until a few of them started getting picked off with blow darts. That's when they started to realize, oh shit. That portal with the Lizardmen a while back that we had a good ass feast on, there may be another one inside. Oh boy. And if there's something demons love, it is fresh, living meat. So the demons started using terror hounds and all sorts of demon dogs to track him down. They were like, hey, he may be invisible to the eye, but he ain't invisible to the senses. So they started using their dogs, but that proved useless, is another word to put it, as Oxyotl would kill their dogs and use their demon blood to cover himself, so that way even his scent couldn't be smelled. And he was so sneaky that you couldn't hear him. This is where Oxyotl was kind of trapped. Now, you may think, how long was he trapped? Well, that's very hard for us to say because time flows differently. In 1 second, 2,000 years have passed. In 100 years, only 5 minutes passed. Time keeps changing and fluctuating the way it goes. It could even go backwards. You could be there for 5 years and then you come out 10 years before you even entered. So time was really relative to Oxyotl. How long he was in, no one knows. He doesn't even know. All he knows is that he just had to keep chugging along. And he saw some crazy shit, apparently, because he apparently was exposed to time. He was able to see time and what would happen to the world if chaos wins. And he was able to see the fate of the other races of the world. This is interesting. Because if he's exposed to this, then he probably knows a lot of valuable information. He knows a lot about just about everything. But this is actually pretty interesting. Is that when he finally made his way back into Lustria, somehow, he doesn't even know how he made it back, and he doesn't care to actually think about it. Because if he thinks about it, he'll fucking go insane just through all the countless times that he's almost been caught, all the countless times he's almost been killed, all the countless times that he's slain the same demon over and over again, because death doesn't really matter to demons in the warp. They just kind of get reinvigorated. They kind of get put back together. So when he made it back, it was a good thing for him, but also a bad thing. See, the Lizardmen foretold of when a chameleon skink would rise, and when he would come back is actually a bad omen, because that means chaos is now a step closer to coming back into the world for another great invasion. And Oxyotl knew this. But it seems like while he was in the warp and exposed to all these ideas and the plans, it seems like he learned something a lot more valuable that the demons were really irritated about. Is that it seems he learned where they were going to be at all times. And he somehow memorized it. I'm not sure how the fuck he did it, but he somehow knows where chaos will be at all times. Any given time, he knows. So, most likely, he was exposed to all their ideas and their plans and somehow memorized it. Now, you would think the Slann would be able to use this. They would be able to scan his brain, read through his memories, and go, wow, now we can fight chaos more effectively, defend Lustria to the best that we could, now that we see the possibilities in time. But here's the problem. They can't do that, because if they do, then they're inviting chaos into their very brain, their very soul. And Oxyotl is pretty much on the brink of total insanity and feralness because of the fact that what he saw, if he was ever asked to relive it, he would probably go insane. So this leaves him in a weird situation where he knows a lot that could save the world, but to expose that information would probably kill the user by driving them insane. So, where's Oxyotl stand today? Well, it's been 7,000 years since he was last in the world. So, that is a very long time to be trapped in hell. But for him, it could have been who knows how long. It could have been 10,000 years. It could have been 100,000 years he's been stuck in there. Who knows? But he emerged with the same equipment that he's had. Now, this is kind of interesting because it's a bit of a lore continuation issue, which is that when they create a character, if the character stays in the series, then their items can change and their stuff could change over time. And originally when he was introduced in 5th edition as a hero, it was just a regular blowpipe with darts, and that was it. But now, 7th edition, 8th edition, his blowpipe does have a name. It's actually a magical item called the Golden Blowpipe of Patui. I'm not joking. It is literally named Patui. It is P''T''OOHEE. Patui. Now, it's not stated how exactly he got this magical item. It's not stated whether or not he was already a legendary skink before the invasion occurred, and that's how he got it. I'm betting more that he probably got it just because it was a regular blowpipe before he got sucked into hell, but being constantly immersed in warp energies and constantly killing demons, it probably did get some warp magical properties, which is what the item is able to do, is that the slightest bit of breath will send a huge blast of wind shooting darts at extremely high speed. This is very useful, of course, especially if you're someone like a chameleon skink who can store a few darts in your mouth, and that way just shoot out like 7 of them at the same time, faster than a Gatling gun. And this is where he is extremely interesting, is that he also had an effect on the Lizardmen as a faction, as a whole. You see, when he came back, not only did he come back as an ill omen saying, hey guys, demons are occurring, not only did he come back and go, hey Lizardmen, while you guys are fighting your battles, I'm going to go where the demons are, and I'm going to keep killing greater demons so that way I intercept their plans. Not only is he doing all this, but he actually caused a very fascinating thing to happen. You remember earlier in this video, before you clicked on it, well, I told you that Pahox was the only city that could spawn chameleon skinks? Well, interesting development occurred. The moment that he rose, all of a sudden, every spawning pool all across Lustria was able to spawn chameleon skinks. And by utilizing these chameleon skinks, Oxyotl has been able to form a tiny little band of chameleons that are running around, constantly thwarting the plans of chaos. And they've been doing a very good job. They've actually stopped whole demon warhosts from ever spawning. They've stopped whole portals from ever existing. So he's been doing a damn good job. And it makes you wonder, what exactly was he exposed to? What exactly did he see in hell? And that's something I would love to see explored later on if they ever decide to do a novel on him instead of just a codex. But that's been it. That's been me for your 700. I am out. I hope you guys enjoyed. And a little bit of a side note. Just know that the name Patui for his blowpipe actually has a bit of a double meaning. You see, Patui sounds a lot like Patoy, which is the Filipino Tagalog word for penis. So sometimes my wife makes a joke that he's blowing on his penis. Blowing on his penis. Patoy, patoy. But that is that I guess you can take to your friends, that now here he is with his golden penis, just blowing out a million little spermies onto your demons and just killing them. But besides that, this has been Free 700. I am out. See you guys next time, and comment down below what you guys think. I think he's an interesting guy. I would love to see him in later games and stuff, but I'm not too sure yet if I would see him as a faction. He does lead chameleon skinks, but it's more of an ambush sense, so I don't know if it would be necessarily a lord or an agent type thing where he could just, by having him in your army, chameleon skinks are way better or something like that. But let me know down below how you guys think it. I think he's a very fascinating character, very interesting, because there's so much about him that could be explored, so much that could be learned. But seems like they're not going to. So, see you next time.